Hi, today I'm going to be talking about making molds. And this particular type of mold putty that I found is an inexpensive and easy way to make copies of objects, or maybe you made something and you want to make a copy of it. This right here is just some things I picked up that I want to make a mold of, and I've noticed that when I want to make a mold, the type of putties that I'm looking for have to be flexible and cheap. And believe it or not, they aren't cheap, so they're kind of expensive. So I found this stuff called Mold Magic by Crayola, and it is a soft, squishy modeling material. And I found I really liked it a lot, and where I bought it was at Fred Meyer's and Walmart and Joann Fabrics. Now, you can check your craft stores locally and see if they have them. Where you find this is over like where you find crayons or Crayola products. It's not in the kids section. You won't find it there. At Fred Meyer, it was $7.49. At Joann's, it was about $8 to $10. Same pack. And at Walmart, they actually didn't have this pack. They had it in a box, but it was almost the same pack, but they stuck it in a box, and they wanted $10 to $11 for it. So actually, Fred Meyer was the more decent price. Now, you can go on to Amazon.com and probably buy this. You just write in Crayola Model Magic, and they should have that. What comes in this pack was I got two big packs of 2.5 ounces. And then I also got 4 packs each of 0.5 ounces. So, I mean, that's a pretty good deal for under $10. So, I'm going to talk about the product a little bit. When using this, bring it over, I made a couple molds from it to see, what it would do and everything. The thicker it is, the longer it takes to dry. This is an air dry clay. When it does dry, as you can see, it's still squishy and flexible. I believe after so much time out in the air, it will start to go hard. You could, to make it last longer, actually stick it in a Ziploc bag, and that might keep it fresher and keep it from continuing to dry. When it does dry, and if you use it, if you're too careless with it, you can start to actually see cracks. When I did this one, I actually was seeing if it was dry or not. I didn't want to wait. I thought maybe in 4 hours or 5 hours it would actually be dry. It actually took something this small almost a day and a half to dry. But if you have patience, it's a good product to have. So to make this, I took from this pack. It comes like this. And it's a nice material. You can rip it apart. I'm going to actually make a mold. And I'm going to use a butterfly. And what you want to do is flatten it out a little bit and take your object, and just press down. And try and keep it in even, and just use the weight of your hand. You don't have to like slam it in there. And then kind of push it in a little bit so it kind of takes the shape that you want. And I'm making this a little bit thicker because I went farther down. You can go just on the surface. It just depends on how thick you want your object to be. And also you want to get the right amount of clay for the object you're actually going to be pressing into the clay. And I'm just going to wait a few minutes. You don't want to keep this in there while it dries, because of the fact that it will either stick to it or become permanently part of it. If it does stick when you're making, like for instance, when I did this one, I made a mold of it, and I noticed it kind of stuck a little bit. You can take some baby powder and just lightly put that on the object, or you can take baking soda and put that on there, and that won't hurt your object. You can just wipe it off or wash it off, and it will help it not stick to the mold. So I think we waited long enough to get this. And all you do is kind of wiggle it and kind of pull it away from the object just a little bit, because you don't want to lose the shape that you were going for. Let's see. It's kind of sticking just a little bit. It stuck on the edge just a tad bit there. But you can see, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it took the actual shape, and it actually has little veins on the butterfly. It actually picks it up, so it does pick up a lot of detail. And I can show you here. So I set that off, and I would just set that off and not even worry about it. Tomorrow sometime I'll be able to use it, and when it dries, it's like this flexible stuff. I have made a fish, and you can see it was in there. And then I went ahead and took some clay and made a mold of it. So that's the mold of the actual fish. So you can see it has all its scales and even the eyeball of the fish. And I did two because I want to actually make this fish double-sided so that it would, like this fish, so I can turn it into like either a bracelet or a pair of earrings or whatever I really want. And so I did the fish going two different directions so that I could go ahead and make it into a mold later. I mean, not a mold, but all one fish. So once it's dry and it's still squishy, you want to take your clay, and I conditioned this. You want to get your clay about the right size. And I have tutorials on different types of polymer clay back in my YouTube page if you want to know more about polymer clays. I also have one on equipment that you can use when using polymer clay. Especially if you're a beginner. I even talk about this tile. This tile that I have that I'm working on. And it's nice because these little tiles are nice, especially if I'm working on a project and I want to put it on there and then just stick it in the oven. It's really nice to have. So you take your clay, and it's about the same size, and you're just going to press it in. So I press it into my mold, and then you kind of bring your fingers back like this so that you can get just the shape. Because if I just press it in, and I'll show you two different ways. This one I'm just showing you, I'm bringing my hand back like that, and then I kind of just open it up, and you can see it is cracking a little bit because I wasn't careful when I first made it. I played with it too much. So as you see, it made a mold, and I'll show you the original object. Right here is the earring, and I would go ahead and clean this up a little bit more. This is just me doing it really quickly, but I mean, as you can see, it's very easy to make. This mold is not really that useful anymore to me because it cracked too much, but I would go ahead and make another one, and that's what's nice about stuff. It's cheap. This stuff here, this Amazing Mold Putty, I'll talk about this in another video. This stuff is much more expensive. It doesn't break apart like that. You wouldn't be able to rip this apart. But this is if you want to keep your stuff a little bit more permanent, if you want to put it in the oven, if you want to put, I use a lot of resin, and resin would actually probably eat this stuff. Certain types of plastic, it will actually melt it. This can take up to a certain amount of heat. Well, this can't, but this stuff's more expensive and you don't get much of it. All you get, I'll just show you real quickly, and you mix those two together. This is, I use just a little bit. When you get the container, it's about that much. So this stuff you go through very quickly, especially if you want to make molds of every one of these. This stuff's much nicer because then that way you can see, is it going to work? Is it something I'm going to like once I make the mold? So I feel that for the money, Magic Mold is good. To keep it from cracking on you and drying out, once it gets to a way where it's squishy enough and it won't lose its shape, stick it into a plastic bag, just a little plastic bag that you have at home, and keep it nice and flat somewhere and just room temperature, and that will keep it from probably drying out further, and then that way you can keep it longer and you'll be able to use it. So that's all I had to show you for today. I have a shop called The Crystal Tree on Etsy. If you go to my YouTube page, you can actually go to a link to actually see some of the stuff that I've made in my shop. Some of the stuff I made, I've actually used molds, and in my next tutorial I'm actually going to talk about this for those of you who want to spend more money and want to use something that's a little bit more durable and lasts longer. This stuff is really good to use, especially if you do baking and you want to make a mold. Let's say you want to make these and then stick them on a wedding cake, you could do that because this stuff can go in the oven and you can actually put your baked goods into it and it doesn't leak out chemicals that would be bad for you. Now, if you use polymer clay in it, you can't go and turn around and go ahead and cook in it. Once you actually use a polymer clay in something, you can't use it for eating out of. Well, thank you for watching today, and hope you enjoyed it.